So, thank you everybody for coming to meet the international graduates. The plan for the session is that we have a panel of graduates from the University of Manchester, all keen to talk about their experience as international students and as international job seekers finding work in the UK and how they have transitioned from student life. We will do some introductions in just a second. The way that the session is going to work is there will be a Slido link in the chat in just a moment, which will be where you can submit your questions. That then allows you, when you go to the link, to see what's already been submitted. It just prevents us having multiple questions, the same question being submitted in the chat here on Zoom. So if you can use that Slido link to submit your questions and upvote any questions which you particularly want to hear the answer to, then we will pass them around to our panel and try and make sure that you get the most insight out of this next hour or so. And what we recommend for me as a member of the Careers Service, we run events like this so that you can get some first-hand information about what can life be like on the other side. Most of our signed up audience today are postgraduate students here at the University of Manchester. We have a handful of undergraduates, but we have a really good split between sciences and humanities as well. So we hope everybody will have some interest represented within the panel. And if you haven't, then you can still submit questions. It's absolutely fine. We'd like everybody to get everything they can from this session. While it is being recorded, you'll have a chance to go back and watch that. What we really hope is that any of the learnings you take away from this will be things that you can use to inform your career decision making, your applications going forward. So please don't shy away from using the information you get from today's session. And we've having just discussed it with our panel. You will see as we go on the LinkedIn links for each of our panelists being posted to the chat as well. They have all confirmed they're happy for you to reach out to them. So if you would like to actively network through the session today, please do that. Let's get in some introductions. You've heard enough from me. We are going to go through in the order that our panelists are presented on screen. So, Tarun, you are up first. Could you just tell us a bit about who you are, what brought you to Manchester, and what's happened since then, please?
Sure. Thanks, Ben. Afternoon, everyone. My name is Tarun Agubandi, as you can see. Even I was a graduate 2 years ago from University of Manchester. I did my master's in advanced manufacturing systems and technology management. Quite a mouthful. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's the full name of my MSc, but I don't know if there's anyone doing the same course. Yeah, that's what I did. Post that, I joined Arcadis as a junior consultant. Now I've made my way up to the senior consultant. I work in a asset management division on advisory and strategy. I work a lot on the engineering and transport sector of the UK. So yeah, that's where I'm at the minute. Yeah, through the session, you can shoot any questions to me if you've got anything related to that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Rosemary, you are up next.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Rosemary. Just like Tarun said, the name of my course is also a mouthful. So I studied MSc Management and Implementation of Development Projects with the GDI. I graduated in 2023, so it's been 2 years now. After my program, I joined KPMG as an internal audit consultant, and shortly after, I've moved into my current role as a senior internal audit associate with Market Access. So I do internal audit and risk management.
Thank you very much. So as we go through our panel, you'll see the Slido link has already been posted to the chat, so please start putting questions in there. We will share that Slido page on screen so people can see what's been upvoted, what questions have already been answered, for example. And yeah, please start putting things in there as we go through. Tushar, you're next.
Thank you, Ben. Hi, everyone. Great to connect virtually. Tushar Jhavar, originally from India. I came to Manchester to pursue my master's in business analytics and with a specialization in risk analysis, basically learning how to predict everything. So just before I graduated on December 24, and then I joined NHS and GEM as a program manager within the strategy, innovation, and planning team. So for visa-wise, I'm currently on a on a graduate visa for 2 years. In my role, basically, it's just about analytic skills, using analytic skills to help and shape better the health and care outcomes across England. So nice to meet you all. And let's see how it goes. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Yufei, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Ben. Hi, everyone. Very nice to meet all of you today. My name's Yufei. I'm from China, and I studied for 2 years in Manchester. I did 2 years of my undergrad in linguistics and sociology, and then I did my master's in sociology. So you kind of know which one was my favorite. I graduated in 2022, and then started working in the career service. Started from a role working in our internships and placements team, and then transitioned to my current role as careers advisor, working in our science and engineering careers team. I work with Ben and Yuhan on the team to support our students and graduates with one-to-one appointments, workshops, but also projects as well, like social media presence, blog articles, etc. I'm also part of our international working group, so supporting our international students along with our colleagues from other faculties and our colleagues from the employers team as well in the career service. I'm currently on a skilled worker visa, which I received around March 2024, I think, and that was a few months into my current role as career advisors. I'm happy to connect with everyone on LinkedIn as well if you want to.
Fantastic. Thank you. Leaves one person only. Mohit, do you want to say hello?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ben. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mohit. I currently work as a senior net zero consultant in WSP. I graduated back in 2021 from University of Manchester. So I did EI and management. So for those who don't know, it's basically environmental impact assessment and management process that basically deals with any planning or building process in the UK. After that, I sort of was hired on a skilled worker visa by a research company known as TRL, so a small company based in Reading. I was there about 1.5 years, and then was then hired by WSP as a senior consultant. So have been at WSP for almost 2 years now, and my sort of work focuses on carbon and looking at the greenhouse gases, whether it's planning or building permissions or and transport sector as well, highways. Yeah, but yeah, happy to connect with everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you, panel. We have everyone accounted for. We are now going to jump over, by the miracle of technology, to our questions as they come in. Now, for the benefit of our audience, here we go. Yeah, we're already in. Starting to get a few things upvoted. So we will come to that in just a sec. We'll give everybody a chance to take that in for a moment. We'll kind of work our way from the top downwards. A mere 6 questions as we start, but I'm sure that will change. Now, the first one is actually quite a broad question, because student sponsored who sponsors students on a skilled worker visa. I mean, the skilled worker visa and graduate visa are very different things. We will. I mean, to answer that question, there is a list. It is quite an unwieldy list, but there is a list available through the UK government. It's not necessarily a simple thing to look through, but it is available on the government website. So that as a first answer for whoever's asked that question. I suppose I'm going to tweak that slightly to ask our panel, I suppose, how did you find your way to your first employer when we talk about skilled worker visas, or indeed for Tushar, how that looked for you when you were looking at your visa options. So if anybody wants to start us off, if they'd like to just unmute and take us through it.
I can go first if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, it was kind of a doubtful decision. I wasn't sure if I should ask for my employer to get on a skilled worker visa or to get a graduate visa. So I ended up with a graduate visa because it invites more freedom on my side to be able to switch roles and be more comfortable around if I'm very comfortable with my role right now or not. But fingers crossed I am. But it just allows me to give that kind of a freedom to be able to switch jobs without having to worry if they are gonna sponsor me or not. So that was my decision to get on a graduate visa rather than a skilled worker visa within the NHS.
That makes a lot of sense, and that is one of the core benefits, I guess. It's the sense of flexibility versus a sense of permanency, depending on what your employer can offer. I'm going to just open that up. Then, Rosemary, I can see you're unmuted as well. Do you want to take that next?
Yes. So for me, I wasn't really looking on going on the graduate visa at all. So I just wanted to go on the skilled worker straight. So I only looked at companies that were willing to sponsor. And that meant I had to look at landing because some of the salary bands you only meet it when you work for a company in London as compared to the regional offices. So that's what's informed my decision to apply to many companies in London. I applied to over 30, and then I got offers for two, both offering visas sponsorship. So that was my strategy, I would say, landing over the regional offices. Yeah.
Super, thank you. And I guess for those who are, I suppose, are still concerned about this, then there is guidance on how to approach all of this. We'll post a link in the chat in just one second. Back to the panel, though. Tarun, Mohit, Yufei, I can see you've got yourself unmuted there.
Yeah, I think I was just thinking of I think I my situation might be a combination of I think Rosemary and Tushar's story in a way. I started working on a graduate visa at the uni because I think at the stage I was open to just sort of working anywhere in the world, including the UK, but hoping to get some work experience first. So the graduate visa was very convenient for that. But also with the entry level role that I had starting working at the uni, it wasn't eligible for skilled worker visa. So that was, I think, more of a convenient place for me to start to get some experience. And then when I was looking for a more permanent position within the uni, I think I was conscious that there will be salary requirements. So certain roles above certain grades within the university will be eligible for skilled worker visa sponsorship at the time. So I think that was my thinking there.
Fantastic, thank you. Next up, Mohit.
Yeah, I think in terms of like you said, like there's a list which sort of specifies which companies you want to go for. But I think my sort of intention was to find a sort of job which was in my field and trying to sort of narrow down of where you would want to work according to your preferences. So I think trying to understand what would be the process of what that company requires, how the process runs in terms of their applications and all. And I think trying to sort of connection works a lot. So I think trying to connect with people on LinkedIn and trying to sort of approach them works more than anything else. That's one thing that I would sort of try to push for people and like for postgraduate students.
That's really interesting, actually, because I think that, yeah, the question of is a company in a position to offer sponsorship, it's not always easy to, even though there is nominally a list that people can consult.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that like it sort of varies across different companies. So at WSP, unfortunately, we don't sponsor visa for graduate students. That's one backdrop, but we do sort of for higher positions going upwards. So I think it's also about understanding if the company really sponsors visa, even though they might have the name on the list, but it's about understanding whether your role qualifies according to the requirements. I think whenever you start applying, I think the first sort of rule is to ask the question. What question is, do you sponsor visa or not? If they don't, then it's okay because you don't want to waste your time as well preparing for interviews, application and form and all that. So it's easier in that way.
Agreed. Brings us to Tarun.
Yes, thanks, Ben. So I guess just to add on more, what he just mentioned is probably, yeah, there is a bit of hesitation probably from few employers when it comes to graduates and directly employing them on a skilled worker visa. So the route of using the advantage of PSW or the graduate visa for 2 years and then building your career path and then probably finding the list and getting that market right would be the better strategy, I think, at this point of time.
Indeed. I think, yeah, there is a balance between relying on the existing resources, but also conducting your own searches and
Yeah.
trying to reach out to people who have been in the same position, much like
Yeah.
all of you have.
Yeah.
I think trying to get a first-hand account of what it can be like is really kind of powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you all. We're going to press on to the next question, which should be quite quick and easy to do. I will just say to everybody that's in the audience, there's a couple of links posted in the chat. One is to the UoM career service pages on working in the UK after study, which breaks down some of the questions arising from the core visa options, as well as earlier this year there were some potential changes announced to the graduate visa system. Whether that goes ahead, we still don't know, but the most recent summary of what that looks like was published by UKISA, the UK Council for International Student Affairs, and that you can find the PDF of in the chat there if you do want to take a read and see what is the current state of affairs with that. The next question is fairly straightforward in that, do UoM roles offer skilled worker visas? Yes, but while the university does have capacity to sponsor skilled worker visas, as several of our panelists have pointed out, there is a significant salary question to answer as well, and the role for which you apply at the university has to meet those salary requirements. So, Yufei, you've been in this position in terms of having dealt with this directly. I don't know if any of our other panelists have dealt with that as graduates. Is there anything you wanted to mention about your experience, Yufei?
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to which university roles or like higher education roles that offer skilled worker visa in general, it very much depends on the role itself. So for example, because along the skilled worker visa sort of requirements, the requirements for the salary, but also for the occupational code as well. So for example, some of the roles within our admissions team at unis, because the occupational code is different or isn't classified as a skilled profession only under the occupational codes, they wouldn't be eligible for a visa sponsorship, even if the grade is high enough for the salary to reach the threshold. For example, if you are interested in working in higher education in general, what I would recommend is before you apply to a position, to try to reach out to the hiring manager for the position, which are usually listed in the job description when they advertise for vacancy. And the hiring manager tends to get a sense of how likely the role will be eligible for skilled worker visa, essentially.
In terms of strategy, I guess if there was a method that you could say you adopted, tips or tricks, ways in which, I mean, I'd be interested to know, particularly from the point of view of the pressures of a master's degree and everything you've got to fit into that. Again, Rosemary, are you happy to jump in on this one to kick us off?
Yes. So for me, I looked at my coursework for both first semester and second semester. And one thing I realized is my second semester was more intensive. First semester was a bit calmer. So a lot of my job search happened right when I got into the country. Like I arrived in September, I started applying in September, right? Because one of the things I learned was that for graduate programs, most of them begin the hiring process a year in advance. So because the processes can be really long, you would do an online assessment, you do video assessments before going for an assessment center. It was a really long process, which could take like several months. So I started applying early and I practiced a lot of the online assessments because it's not something I was familiar with from my home country. My home country, for a job, you just go in for maybe two interviews and then you have the job, right? But here, I was introduced to these like numerical assessments and all that. And with the school has access to graduates first, which was really helpful. So with my University of Manchester account, I got access to graduates first. and I practiced a lot of the online assessments there till I was really comfortable. So by February of 2023, I graduated in December. By February of 2023, I already had a job offer lined up because I started early. So I think that's my biggest tip, is to start early, and then practice a lot of the online assessments. Fortunately or unfortunately, for many jobs, there's no way out of that, especially if it's a graduate job. So yeah, that's what I can say.
Thank you. I think that I appreciate for some of our audience at this point in the year that it's you may have been through the apply early stage and feel like you're still pushing at this, but I hope some of you have met with success regardless. Um, Tarun.
Yes, thanks, man. I think building upon what Rosemary said, yes, starting to apply quite early, but then the key thing is networking. That's one of the break-even point, what I saw in my job search. So though I was applying, I was giving assessment centers back then for graduate schemes. It's a long and tedious process. As Rosemary pointed out, it takes probably like 3 months for few companies, 6 months, depending on the rounds they have and etc. But probably if there are any junior level roles, you reach out directly to the companies what you're interested for, and you pick out the senior level roles and say, okay, I'm doing this, I'm interested for this, this is my skill set. Yeah, there's an opportunity that would probably lead to an interview if there's an opening. So I think one of the tips and tricks is definitely reaching out, putting yourself out there on LinkedIn, and any other networking platforms. I know UoM has a lot of them getting hosted around in London, Manchester, so get involved. So yeah, that sort of helps for sure.
Fantastic. Thank you. Tushar, I think you're next.
Yeah, just to add what Tarun said, I'd really recommend putting yourself out there on LinkedIn because for me, that really worked out. I got my role based on LinkedIn because I reached out to the right amount of people, and basically I reached out to a former alumni that helped me connect and get a referral within the NHS. So that was really, really helpful for me. And basically he acted like my mentor and just like guided me through my application as well. So that was really lucky to find them. So do always reach out to people that you find on LinkedIn who have a connection to UOM because people really do like to help. That's my strategy. That was my strategy basically.
That's great to hear. It's I think LinkedIn can be quite a divisive topic because some people find it quite impenetrable. The whole pressure of everybody celebrating all the great stuff they've done on LinkedIn can make it quite hard to cut through. But it is good to hear that you do get good results out of it because, yeah, we do like people to think that they can. Mohit, I've got a question for you specifically around this, but please give us your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of my strategy, and I'm like sort of pointing out to Rosemary's point as well, you will be in competition with thousands of students. So I think it's not about, I think it shouldn't like get disheartened if you don't get into a role. It's about applying, applying, and applying. If it like you'll get thousands of hundreds of messages. I mean, I've been rejected 100 times, to be frank, but I think it only matters once if you get the job. That's the only thing. Then you have 100% success rate. So it doesn't matter if you get failed 99 times, one job or one skilled worker visa. That's what you need. It should be enough to give you the 100% result. So I think it's about trying, and like not getting disheartened, and like it's a normal thing. Everyone goes through it. I think it's sort of a transition that I found out from a student life to a working phase. But I think yeah, it's about not giving up. That would be my sort of strategy. I'm like not a strategy, but yeah, like not sort of giving up and trying to apply wherever you think it's suitable for you or where you want to go.
It's not easy. It's
Yeah.
that kind of mindset you have to adopt of constantly weathering, the rejections as they come. I think it really can take its toll on people. And
Especially for international students, I think it's something that we need to sort of prepare and sort of come with expectations. I think like sort of for my perspective, like I sort of came here to do my degree and then sort of work as well. So I think it's about, yeah, it's about not giving up and
Agreed.
keeping that focus.
Um, the question I had for you was, you mentioned that one of your first roles had been with a smaller firm.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how did that come about? Did you find them through a particular route, or was the conversation, I suppose, any different with them when it came to approaching as an international graduate?
It was not different. I think it was about like I think I would say I got lucky in terms of process. I think it's a small company, so uh, unlike Rosemary or Tarun, like where they work at big firms, you had to go through 5, 6 different process. I only had sort of two, or I think one excluding the HR sort of process. I only had one interview, and that sort of struck with them. But I think it's about it. You like I think like there's a luck factor as well, but the luck will come once you've done the hard work. So I think it's about understanding, okay, like trying to search and look, like I said before, not giving up. You will find something that's suitable for you, and in that you might find something that will work for you. So I mean, yeah, it's about your work and as well as a luck factor involved. So
Thank you all. Just before we move on to the next question, specifically for Rosemary there, can I ask if anybody has any particular resources that they thought were useful, things they leaned on when it came to finding vacancies or directories for finding companies? Is there anything particular links that you'd recommend that we can then share with people as part of this event?
Yeah, probably I should have some Excel sheet somewhere, then I will dig that up and share that with you or Miriam after the call.
I didn't necessarily mean you had to share your very files with us, but if there are,
That's fine. That's fine. It's just a list which I just populated properly. But yeah, and I don't think I used any other resource other than gov.uk and the careers website of Manchester University or probably LinkedIn. Yeah, those are it.
Um,
Tushar.
yeah, I would just like to add two different websites that I really found useful. There was wellfound.com just to search around startups, and there was Welcome to the Jungle. That's a website's name. It posts jobs around like very niche areas. So, like I was very much keen into cybersecurity at a point, so I wanted to find some roles relevant to that particular niche. So these two websites really helped me found some great opportunities, even though I ended up at the NHS. But yeah.
I guess the jungle thing, Tushar, was known as OTA, if I don't get
Yeah,
that.
that's the one.
Yeah, it's quite tricky. Yeah, it's a niche one, but yeah, definitely it's a useful point.
I think one other website that was helpful to me was Bright Networks. Bright Network. It was really helpful as well. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, not quite a website specifically, and people might be doing this already. I think just multiple email alerts, because some of the sort of vacancy websites, you can do multiple alerts based on different keywords, for example. So those are really helpful for locating for different types of vacancies and when they actually come up as well.
Fantastic. Okay. We can always return to this question. If things occur to you as we go along, then yeah, please volunteer other resources as we go. But Rosemary, you've had plenty of time to consider this particular question. Is there anything you would like to throw out there for this particular audience member?
I think it's quite interesting because I'm not in the development sector, although I worked in GDI. I studied in GDI. For me, I think with everything else, the development sector can be a hard sector to break into because it's not profit driven per se. It's more about humanitarian and things like that. And so sometimes they are not like audits where they always need people because of regulatory reasons or something. So I think one key thing which I think Tarun mentioned is networking plays a big role because some of my schoolmates from my course are actually here in the UK. They are in jobs. So if you are part of the University of Manchester sites on LinkedIn and things like that. You can connect with these past students and then ask them how they got in and all that. So I think for this sector, networking will be the biggest factor. Yeah. But it's possible because off the top of my head, I can think about 3 of my colleagues who are in jobs in the development sector here in the UK.
Fantastic. That's your classmates, is that from that's good to know. Okay. And yeah, I suppose the power of networks, it's I think I think one important point around networks is that you don't necessarily have to use it to find a vacancy. It can be about the insight that you acquire from your network rather than just going to them to say, is there a job available? That can scare people. So I think be slightly cautious of that. You, Faye, sorry.
Yeah, no, Northman, I just want to quickly add something as well, because developmental sector was something I was considering myself as well when I was a sociology graduate. I think what I found really helpful with networking as well actually was volunteering. So I was volunteering with a Manchester charity called Manchester Refugee Support Network, and then they had a volunteer group chat where I think one of the managers of the charity would send regular vacancies just locally in the developmental or charity or government sectors, essentially every week, basically having vacancies in there, but also knowing other volunteers who were actually working in the sector. It was a really good way to build network, at least for me, because I so prefer to talk to people or know people when I'm actually doing something, instead of sort of most of the networking sessions, at least at the time. So that was something that I found really helpful, volunteering.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Johan, as well, for sharing the link to the LinkedIn alumni group for the University of Manchester. So that if you want to use that as a means of tracking down interesting people who are your fellow Manchester graduates, that is an invaluable resource. We don't have time to get into it in enough detail today, but you'll find as well there is a specific group. That tool, which Johan has linked to, is really valuable, but there is a specific University of Manchester alumni group you can join as well, if you wish to do that. I'm just linking to that same resource that you, Faye, just mentioned. So, question of timing. When did things happen? How realistic is it to be starting work in September immediately after the dissertation? Does anybody have a hot take on this, please?
I think I received my first job offer just before the Christmas vacation kicked off.
Oh, wow.
So that's probably mid of December. So that is not right after September to answer the question. I think if you are proactive from right beginning, probably if you're successful in a graduate scheme, then that September timeline would fit right perfectly 100%, I think. Otherwise, the companies tend to move a bit back, bit forward. It tends with the timeline of what they are looking for. But yeah, that was my situation.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to come in on that one?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, sorry,
no,
Rosemary. Rosemary, if you go ahead, and then we'll come to Tushar.
Okay. So like I mentioned, I received my offers 2 before I even graduated. So it's possible to start right after your dissertation if you start early, like I said. Yeah. Because most of the companies I applied to, their offers went out in like February to April. So if you were applying in May, you would already be too late because offers would have already gone out. So it depends on the company and their entry point for that particular graduate scheme.
Tushar.
Just had a comment around if anyone wanted to start. So just on the comment that they wanted to start working September. I think as an international graduate, you would have to wait until your official course end date, and only after that you would be able to work any job that is considered a full-time job. So that is one thing that you might need to take in mind before applying or before starting a job. On the second part, if I got my process done in the month of November, and I could only start December first week, so that I had the time of processing of my graduate visa as well, because some employers might prefer to be on the safer side of these kind of regulations and would prefer if you have a graduate visa in hand before you start working. So yeah.
That's interesting. So you didn't start working while still on your student visa then, that waited until you'd begun the graduate visa itself.
They were so there was just I just needed a proof of application for the graduate visa, just to give them something that I am gonna be able to work in the UK after my student visa expires. So
That
it
makes
was just
sense.
that kind of a thing. Yeah.
Thank you. Tarun.
Yep, sorry, man. Just to add on what Tushar just said. So there is a difficult conversation probably in interviews where you have to have if you're on a student visa. So I think the general notion of the employers, at least what according to my experience, is they would prefer that is sorted out. So normally they do not offer out or they not tend to offer out the offer formally by saying, okay, this is your offer and start it until you have your visa in place. So if they're sponsoring, very good. They would outline that saying, post your completion, you can give them the proof and they'll sponsor you right away. Or it would be other way. You get completion from your university and then apply for graduate visa as Tushar did, and then send that proof over for the offer to be successful. So yeah, there is a bit of hesitation for sure there when you start showing them that you're still on a tier 4 student visa and then you are looking to start right away with the full-time job.
Indeed. Thank you for that. And Mohit, can we come to you next?
Yeah, I mean, unlike Tarun, Rosemary, and Tushar, like my experience was sort of on a different trajectory. Um, I I I was so I was like I got the confirmation from my previous company 1 week before my visa was expiring. So I was on a very knife edge in terms of going back to India. And I mean, in terms of the process, as soon as you have applied, you can stay in the UK. So if your process is going on in terms of visa application, you can stay in the UK. It doesn't have that you have to. You can only be staying if your visa is valid. So if your process is going on, that should be fine. But yeah, I mean, unlike others, I got the confirmation, and they had to be very quick. In terms of process, they had to do it in priority to sort of get it done. But yeah, I mean, like others said, it sort of depends on the company to company role when they are looking to start the work. And like Tarun said, like it depends upon your completion of studies. That's something they sort of put in.
Indeed. All of which just adds to the stress.
Yeah.
Um, Yufei, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think just to add a bit on that, because I think my situation was a bit different as well. I think my priority was to start working as soon as I could, which was September as well. I was able to do that, I think, partly because the team I was working with at the uni, which was specifically with our employer engagement team, they had a bit more knowledge of the sort of work visa process, and I think they were feeling a bit more reassured of using the graduate visa for a potential employee. I was able to start working in September, although only part-time, partly because on the sort of UCAS document from like admission, I remember the official end of my course was technically end of September, even though I was able to submit my dissertation earlier. In early September, anyways. But I think just for safety, I negotiate with our team to work part time in September and then started full time from October to November when I was able to work full time on my student visa, because that's the condition of the student visa outside of term time. I applied for the graduate visa around December after I got the official confirmation of the completion of my degree, and then I got my graduate visa. I think the very first day of January, I think maybe the very first working day of January. So yeah.
Okay, smashing. It is fantastic, by the way, to hear different experiences from everybody. It's almost inevitable, but I think that variety of well, I suppose challenges and the different logistical approaches everybody's taken to this is really helpful for our audience to hear. Okay, I think we're done on the topic of like when has this happened. The next question is sort of related to this, in sense of like, was there a transition period? Was there things in between that you maybe did after the end of your course? Has anybody again got a particular angle on this they want to tell us about?
Uh, I was just heads down applying for jobs, Ben. But yeah, I mean, it's up to everyone to decide and take a breather off. Um, but I stayed back in Manchester to answer that question.
Hmm.
I Now I'm not in Manchester. I've moved down south to London. But yeah, Manchester is quite a interesting place. Even after you graduate out of UoM, you make your connections. You have your friends around. You know your cafes and libraries to go and spend time with. So why not? Yeah, stay in and enjoy as much as you can until you land a job and you're forced out of Manchester.
That does raise an interesting question, which was the transition to London, because it's on many people's minds. How did you find that, please?
Um, that happened through my work commitments. So I was not in a place to say, okay, I want to stay back. But given the chance, I would definitely, because that's probably my second home after Mumbai back in India. Uh, yeah, now I'm settled in London. I'm enjoying London. So, but yeah, quite often the change was bit quick for me because the transition was demanding towards the work commitments. So I moved down and it was, yeah, it just fell in place. But one thing probably I miss is getting that connect of friends, which I had in Manchester. So with the sense of that university cohort, and I know where the places were to go on, play a paddle or a badminton. I knew people around, so I knew a few groups on Facebook and stuff. So yeah, but coming down, it's changed. Now I've got some friends here, but yeah.
Fantastic. I'm gonna turn to Rosemary on the question of like what happened next.
So my job offer was starting in, I think, 2nd October. So like when I finished my dissertation, I think end of August, I moved straight to London because my job was in London. So during that time, I was finding a house, all those things, trying to sort out all those things. Yeah, so that's what I did. In terms of I'm not sure where to go after September, I think like Tarun said, where you go should depend on the opportunities you get. I wouldn't advise that if you don't have a job in London at the moment. I wouldn't advise you to move to London because it could be quite expensive. And you don't need to live in London to apply for jobs in London. So you can stay back in Manchester. And if you want to move to London, apply for jobs. When you do get a job, then you can move. But I wouldn't recommend moving to London without an offer because it's quite pricey. Yeah.
Agreed. Um, Mohit, Tushar, Yufei, would you like to come in on this one at all?
I mean, yeah, like I think, like Rosemary said, yeah, I wouldn't recommend moving to London uh, on on a smaller scale salary. I think, yeah, as a starting, I think you're better off working somewhere else where you can. When I got the first job offer, I was already in London with my friends, and my job was based in Reading. But as in the consultancy sector at that time, they were quite so open to like working from home. So it was quite flexible and hybrid working as well. So there was no pressure in terms of me coming to the office. It was more sort of a push from myself to go into the office, mingle with others, and trying to know. As you join a new company, I think it's everyone sort of wants to know everyone and try to network. But yeah, currently based in London as well. But yeah, it depends on where you want to live in terms of your friends' place, what suits you more in terms of your weather. It can be very seasonal in London in a matter of hours. So it's something that you have to figure out for yourself.
It's very much a case of priorities, I guess, and what matters the most in terms of your job hunt and other things you need to factor in, family, those sorts of things. Um, Tushar.
Yeah, just to point this particular thing out, there's no particular benefit in moving to a different city just because of your just it doesn't really matter where you're applying from as long as you're in the UK. So that's the thing. I personally prefer Manchester over any other city, so I am still based in Manchester, even though I just have a remote job working in the NHS. I decided to stay back in the Manchester just because I was well in my comfort zone and like how Manchester is. in general, not particularly the weather, but in general. So yeah, that was my preference going ahead after my uni.
Enough. Yufei, do you want to come in on this?
Yeah, I stayed in Manchester after I finished my studies. But I knew people who moved to places like Liverpool, for example, for like living a lower sort of living cost. I think it helped that she was able to move with her friend as well, so they could share a flat and everything. Because I think having networks, having friends around is really important for that. But there could be other locations in the UK if you don't want to consider them.
Yufei, I believe as well you came onto the Manchester Graduate Talent Scheme. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Of course. So, Manchester Graduate Talent Scheme, or MGT, if you've heard of them before, is one of these sort of graduate internship scheme that the career service run, actually. I'm thinking more as an alumni of the scheme myself, instead of a more professional capacity. I think the advantage with the MGT roles, they were mostly working with the uni for entry-level roles, mostly using your graduate visa for that as well, because the salary wouldn't qualify for skilled worker visa. But there were a small number of roles with Manchester organizations overall like charities, consulting companies, etc. I feel the advantage with the MGT job that I did was it was only open to graduates from our uni, so you got much less competition on an entry level job compared to other potential external positions. And it's really helpful to get some more experience as well if you haven't had much work experience before in the UK. And then we have had graduates who then apply to schemes, like the graduate schemes with the university, or graduate schemes with banks like NatWest, for example, afterwards. So it can be a good jumping board as well to get some experience in Manchester before you move to other organizations or elsewhere in the UK.
Fabulous, thank you. So that once again is linked in the chat. Now, did anybody use the career service? Was there anything useful there? The answer no is fine here because we realize not everybody needs to use our services. But Rosemary, can we come to you? Was there anything that you found useful?
So I use the career service a lot. I attended most of the events in person, online. I attended a panel like this whilst I was in school. I also had like a CV clinic, like a one-on-one CV session with somebody there. Before my KPMG interview, I had an interview prep with somebody there as well. So I use the career service a lot. That's how I got to find out about graduate first, which was very helpful in my journey. Yeah.
And that's good to hear. And thank you for kind of taking people through many of our services there. Tushar.
I very much recommend the career service, especially so more benefits to the ones that came from AMBS because they have a dedicated career service called the postgraduate career service, which I was really grilling on too because I used to have like a weekly or a monthly visit. Big shout out to Joe there, but I used to be very much inclined on being there just because as a support system as well as just to get my each application reviewed, my interview preparations and even my cover letters just to how pace my mindset around. And actually she was the one that suggested me a book called a learned how to learn optimism. There was a book that like just basically she used to always suggest that just to be out there and just to try applying. So yeah, just around that, as well as I was part of the flexible learning program within the University of Manchester. So I got to experience some certifications as well within them. As a part, I was the first. I was on their pilot program to gain the Microsoft certification. So that way I could really get my skills built up. At the same time, I was applying through jobs. So yeah.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. Any of our other panelists want to come in this one?
Probably one thing to add then is, yeah, even I used on a similar note of Rosemary and Tushar on mock interviews and CV preparations. But one thing on the mock interview side, which helped me a lot, was to gain confidence because it does help someone who's doing it for the first time as in an interview process. So that's quite overwhelming at some point. So yeah, it does help you to calm your nerves down with practicing it with someone, and yeah, it just builds some confidence to you to get into a room of unknowns and talk. So yeah.
Again, good to hear. And yeah, all these services are still available for those that do want to use them. It's a good time at this point in the year. It's a good time to use the career service. We are quieter than we've ever been because the undergraduates have gone home for the year. Um, but the service is still open. We're still offering appointments every day as we go through the summer. So if you have any concerns, please reach out to us at careers.info at manchester.ac.uk, or you can just book a careers appointment through Career Connect. Links to follow. Right. Let us press on. I'm just glancing at the time to make sure we've still got a chunk of time available to us. Then. Interesting question. Anybody want to do a bit of promotion for their own employer?
Um, I'll just jump in on that, Ben. So I would suggest, at least at Arcadis, look at junior roles, specifically on LinkedIn. Yeah, feel free to reach out to me, but I think graduate schemes itself are being limited because of the new salary thresholds, and I don't think the grad schemes salary are in line at all with any of the bigger companies. Yeah, I could be wrong. I don't know about Mohit's company or so. Yeah, I would suggest look at junior roles, which are apart from grad schemes, but they're still on the entry level positions, which do not go through the cumbersome process of all the assessment centers and et cetera and et cetera. So that would probably give you a better leeway and advantage of.
Fantastic. Rosemary.
Just to add, so my current company, Market Access, we don't run graduate schemes, but all of our entry level roles do meet the salary thresholds. So you can follow the page on LinkedIn. Yeah, every job we put out there that meets the salary threshold. And as to whether they would choose to sponsor, it depends on how much you show you need the job. They are open, but they wouldn't put it out there like we're willing to sponsor. But if you put in like a very strong application, your interview is solid and everything, they would be willing to sponsor. In actual fact, an international student is joining my team on Monday, and the company is sponsoring her for a very junior role. So it depends on how well you position yourself.
Good to hear. Mohit.
Yeah, I mean, like as Tarun said, like I mean, it's about sort of. I mean, in WSP, from what I remember, like a while ago, they didn't sponsor visa, but I think it was more sort of the internal regulations and rules. But it might change now. WSP do hire a lot of roles, like graduate roles. It's expanding exponentially. So there are available roles all across the country. Doesn't have to be London, but it can be anywhere in the UK. So they are hiring exponentially. So you can do a research and try to like understand if they are trying to hire. So like Rosemary said, they won't put it out there in terms of that they will sponsor your visa. It's about it matters client matters applicant to applicant. So I think it's about how much you show through your application and how much they like you through the role. And if they are that desperate to get you in, they will they will they will be happy to spend an extra few bucks. I don't think but I think it's more about they want to get hold of the talent and keep them there. So yeah, it sort of matters application to application and how much you can sort of put yourself forward. Like, so it depends on that.
Taryn, did you want to come back in on this one?
Yeah, just to add on that, I guess there's one angle of personal career path as well. I don't know if someone's looking for a permanent route in UK. Only then I would suggest like put your heads down and see for skilled worker visa. But otherwise, you have PSW option, graduate visa, which you can take advantage of. And once you're in the company or working, then yeah, it's much easier to open up the routes and all the doors available within the company. So yeah, that's just a suggestion or a tip.
Smashing, thank you.
And I think like just to add, Ben, I think we sort of do apprenticeship programs as well. I don't know if it might be relevant
Ah,
here or not, but like I think WSP sort of do apprenticeship program where to sort of hire university students uh, from different universities across the UK as well, sort of to work with us. So I'm not sure if Manchester is sort of linked with us in that sense, but yeah, I think what I know, we do like sort of hire students on a part-time basis, what I assume from what
useful
I
to know. Once again, thank you. This raises the interesting question, I think, from all of these reflections on the fact that it doesn't have to be something with the word graduate in the title, or a scheme of some kind, which is it's often made out to be the thing that you as a job seeker should be looking for. But from our sort of sense of the proportions of opportunities, um, it's only a smaller proportion that are labeled as graduate schemes. There's a lot of other entry level roles out there that just examining the level of experience they're looking for, and for example, what you might bring in, this kind of relates to our next question, with prior experience from before your master's degree, could make you eligible for some of those experienced higher roles or entry level roles that aren't part of a graduate scheme as such. So, on that topic, having experience from home, can anybody speak to this at all in terms of the either how you handled that in your job hunt, or whether it's been useful or even a setback when sitting interviews or talking about your experiences? Anybody want to come in on this?
Yeah, I would just jump in on that at the moment. So, um, I think what I did was it was risky, but it turned out well. So before I moved here, I had 4 years of experience from home. But then I still decided to apply for a graduate role, because I wanted a big name company on my CV.
Mm.
So I didn't have that from home. So I decided to join KPMG to get a big name company on my CV. So after being in KPMG for 9 months, what I realized is after that, I started getting job offers on LinkedIn. And they were for more senior roles because on LinkedIn you can see all my experience from back home, including KPMG. So you would see that this is somebody with 5 years of experience. So my current role I'm in, I didn't even apply. They reached out to me on LinkedIn, and then they did the whole sponsorship thing.
Hmm.
So I think my experience from back home has played a huge part because it's a senior role and it recognizes the experience I had before coming into the UK. So
Ah. So yeah, so a factor then in terms of what happened after you found that first graduate role.
yes.
Okay. Fabulous. Does anybody else want to speak on this one? Mohit.
I mean, and of course, like it plays a factor in terms of because I think you're able to sort of explain in your application and sort of take you through the experiences that you have faced before your studies. But like I wouldn't say it should stop you from applying for that role. I think what for specifically for graduate scheme role, they are not looking at what degrees you have done. It's more about how you think on your feet, how you get through the process, how logical, how analytical your mind is. So if you can explain and sort of take them through the process, how you get about, I think they're not worried about if they ask you a question and you give the wrong answer, they're not worried about that. How you got to the process, how you got to the result is what they're looking at, of how you think on your feet, how you can make yourself calm in extreme difficult positions. So it's more about your communication, how your sort of character and persona is in front of them. But of course, it plays a factor. But yeah, that shouldn't stop you in terms of getting roles. I think it varies across different roles. I mean, like in my position, when I applied for WSP, I applied as a consultant. But when I got the job offer after 5, 6 months of application, I was hired for a senior consultant. So that shouldn't put you off, like in terms of that you applied for a role. They might not think you. It's about, like I said, matters application and applicant to applicant, how you show yourself, what experience you have, whether it's through uni or whether it's through work as well. So it's about how you think on your feet, how you show yourself.
Thank you for that. I guess, Yufei, do you want to come in on this one as well?
Yeah, I think I just want to add to Mohit and Rosemary's points around for the more experienced students. I think just from my experience working with them as well, I think the key is really to network with people in the organizations. I feel like networking and having that personal connection with someone working in those companies really helps you identify which level of positions will be optimal or really, I think, reasonable to apply to with your level of experience, essentially. I think from my personal experience was I didn't have as much experience in the industry when I was in China. But when I applied to jobs, I was able to utilize as much as I can, sort of my like student work, a students union, social media work that I did part time when I was a student, but also freelance work I did over the summer for like translation, interpreting stuff that I did as well. I think I was able to utilize a lot of that in my interviews, in my application for job positions as well. So even if you don't have as much industrial experience, your previous experience in university, in part-time jobs, etc., is still very useful when you apply to positions.
Indeed. Uh, okay. Then I'm just gonna skip ahead slightly because there is a easy to answer question down the bottom there. Can you get the recording? Yes, you can. The recording will be sent out to everybody that registered for the session, alongside any links that we have collected here in the chat. So there is a general resource for everybody to use. So yes, do not worry about that at all. I think we've also kind of answered the question about is it difficult to find companies that sponsor visas? Again, if you came in late and didn't hear that question getting answered, we tackled that in a bit of depth at the very top of the session. So there are resources for that. Several of them still linked in the chat as well. Then, next question, I suppose, is to do with the shift in work culture, I suppose. And have you seen a marked difference? Is there anything that's taken you by surprise when it's come to starting your either your current role or other ones you've held down? Anybody want to jump in on this, Rosemary? You're in once again.
Yeah, it's been very different from back home. So just to clarify, I'm from Ghana. The culture is very different here in terms of Ghana is a more communal place where your workmates are your friends, like we all go out together, those kind of things. Whilst I found that here is a more individualistic society. I think that's one of the things I've had to grapple with. In terms of work itself, one thing I find myself really grateful for is the systems here are more advanced. So I've found myself using a lot more tools. The depth of work is also far greater than I was used to back home. So I've been in internal audits my entire career from back home and then here. But then I found that the depth of work here is heavier. In my opinion, the work is more meaningful. Yeah, so that's how the experience has been. But I think you should expect that your experience from back home and here would be different. It's just being able to adapt as a person, being open to trying new things. For instance, I personally don't drink alcohol, but after work drinks are a thing here. Um, rather than shutting myself out, I still go with them, but I would take Coke or something just so that I'm still so socializing with people rather than saying, oh, I don't drink, so I won't associate with people because most of work is about relationships, not just the core work. So yeah, that has been my experience here.
You reminded me of a short time I worked in Scotland as a student, and everyone plays golf. I didn't know how to play golf, but I went to play golf anyway because everybody was going to go play golf, and so sometimes it can help to get involved in those sorts of things. Tushar.
Yeah, I would say definitely like in the UK, I felt it's more like how you would work as a person. So they would definitely value you as a person in terms of saying that your own kind of traits that you bring into the company and for the job. So I personally would like to, I'm a morning person, so I would like to start my mornings early and then work it accordingly. But some people are late shifters, so they would prefer a time that suits like to a later half of the day. So, but in the UK, you are more flexible around if you want to choose that kind of a life. So that's the great advantage that I find because I can work according to my own commitments rather than having to stick to a 8 to 5 dedicated timeline every day. So yeah, that was pretty much good, and yeah, advantages for me as well. So
Super. Taryn, did you want to come in on this as well?
Just on Tushar's point, I completely agree. It's very flexible. The example is it's a working day for me, and
Yeah.
I'm here spending my lunch and probably more than that with you guys talking about. So yeah, it's quite flexible. Employers understand your commitments. So yeah, you can navigate around your personal and work life quite well.
Fair enough. Yufei, Mohit, did you want to come in on this one at all in terms of like the cultural shift you may have experienced?
I mean, yeah, like as Tarun said and Tushar said, like, I mean, we sort of come back from India where there is nothing as 8 to 5. You're bound to sort of work more than how you expect. But here it's more sort of they're concerned about your mental health, sort of how much you work, how much your workload is. So I think it's yeah. So I think here sort of more relaxed and it's about they sort of care more about you as a person, and it's you get the chance to socialize as well. I mean, in my sort of offices, I mean, every week twice we have like a lunch and learn sessions where they bring around pizzas and everything to socialize and do like webinars and all that. So I mean, yeah, it's free food if anyone wants to come from the offices. So I mean, yeah, it's about the culture is very sort of mingling. So I think you get a chance to mingle with senior people as well. You don't sort of get the feel of a hierarchy going around. I think that's one good thing that I've seen in the UK culture as opposed to what might be in back in India.
I was about to say the same, Mohit, because it's not a top-bottom approach
Yeah.
here. It's more of a horizontal,
Mm.
across spread out the team. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you do good work, you'll get the opportunity to work with big people like who are very far advanced in the company at a very high positions as well. So your work will speak louder once you do good work. So you get the opportunity to socialize, to work with different people.
You do good work, you get given more interesting work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one bad advantage of work doing good work.
Yufei.
Yeah, I think that's general. I think echoing other panelists' sort of points as well. I think it's more flexible to work in the UK, where I think in the Chinese job market at least, things are competitive and things move at a very fast pace. Where at least in universities in the UK, I think things move a bit slower, and you get more attention to like I think everyone's well-being, like mental health at work, etc. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you all. I think that takes care of that as kind of the second question in our there. I'm going to just tackle that next one that's popped up, which is that for master's graduates, is it too late to start applying now to get jobs that start in September? It's not impossible. You are relying very much on what is available right now and does it fit your interests and your needs and the requirement for whatever style of visa you may want to consider. So there's a lot of ifs and maybes in that. So it can be done. It is now currently the end of June. It is possible within the typical timeframes of hiring processes to have a role lined up for September, but now would definitely be the time to get busy with that because that time will start to tick away very quickly. Next question is a really interesting one, and I think it speaks to something which was mentioned before, that sort of sense of resilience and perseverance, because everything has been made harder in recent years. And this is something we hear from employers as well. The fact that the joys of AI mean it's never been easier to apply for jobs. They are swamped with applications, and therefore some of the responses, if you get one at all, are very generic, very bland. You're just getting AI responses from companies as well. I don't know if there is a solution for this, but if anybody can suggest a way of pushing through it or something they have used as a means of addressing this factor in their job hunt, Taryn.
Uh, Probably one thing is obviously using your career services then at UoM to refine the CV, get some examples out. But the second part would definitely be, so imagining a HR getting swamped with 500 resumes a day, uh, and getting rejected by AI and filtered, etc. So the networking angle. So if you know that the position on X company is open, then just reach out to a couple of people at that company, and then you know for a fact someone would internally start that conversation for you, but not in a way as Ben mentioned earlier that you're straight off saying, "No, can I get a job, please?" So yeah, at least if you try to make the effort and try to start the conversation apart from only the application process, there might be more than one path into a company, not only the application process.
Agreed. Tushar.
Yeah, just to add to what Tarun said, I actually had a good opportunity to actually go on the back end and see how one received my application. So it was an opportunity while I was applying for a particular job, and even though I couldn't succeed, then I had a chance to get on a call with the hiring manager, as I asked for a feedback, and then he got back to me saying that he was swarmed with. So he just said what you said, Ben. Like he was swarmed with so many CVs that it wasn't the best idea to be actually able to go all of them. So what they do is like do a stack of like first 100 CVs, then go over them, and if they couldn't find a relevant person for after interviewing 10 out of the 100, then they would go to the next 100 applications. So that made me realize that it might not be wrong with anything I do, but it might just be that I'm not just that into that 100 top 100 CVs based on how the sorting criteria might be for the company. So yeah, so that made me give myself a little confidence that I'm nowhere wrong in the process. It's just not the right time or not the right luck for me. So yeah.
That's a really interesting point, and that's yeah, that I think speaks to a bigger point for those of you who are going through this quite harrowing process of applying and getting pushback and trying to rationalize that. Sometimes it really is not you. It is a really lengthy and difficult process, and sometimes the numbers are simply stacked against you. I can see Mohit and Rosemary both looking to come. Mohit, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think I said before, like, uh, not to get disheartened or dejected by any messages or like any sort of AI. I think it's like Tushar said, it's more about timing as well when you get in your application, and luck plays a factor in that. But like I said, I mean, uh, you should like it's only about getting that one job, that one job that you want. It doesn't have to be that you have to get multiple offers and you are trying to choose between different. Not everyone gets that luxury of doing that. I didn't certainly have that. So I mean, it's about getting that one job that you want. And I mean, it's a case of probability. The more you apply, the higher probability increases. So it's more about a probability game. You just apply, focus on improving your application where you think might be drawbacks. And as Tarun said, before you apply to a bigger company where you know that you are trying to stand out among different applications, get someone to review your CV, whether it's career service or whether it's that internal guy as well. They can sort of put you forward, they can make you stand out. So I mean, yeah, it's about the probability game. You're going to get that one job. It's about that. So it's going to increase basically. The more you apply, the probability chances increase.
Okay.
Yep.
Indeed.
Just to add on to what everyone has said, yeah. So once you've done all you can, you've networked, you've done your CV and all that, I think for your mental health sake, maybe you can filter out your emails. So in any e email that has like "we regret to inform you" or "unfortunately," you can filter them out such that you don't even see them in your inbox for your own mental health sake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just another positive note, Ben. Sorry. So one of the employers when I was interviewing told me one of the criteria they had on the CV search was University of Manchester
Oh,
as a keyword. So I don't know if that helps anyone on the call, but definitely. So people do look out for UoM. So
that's That's a useful insight. Thank you. And yeah, it's nice to know that there are those companies that yeah value it that highly.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Folks, we are into our final 10 minutes here. So we've still got a number of questions. We will try and get through what we can. However, the option remains to continue networking with our panel and also reaching out to your careers professionals after this event, should you wish. And I am just going to throw out there that next week we have the sister event to this one, which is a another panel of graduates, all of whom work in different countries around the world. So if you want to return for next week's panel as well, please do that. We'll see you there. Back to the questions. This is more, I suppose, logistical once again. Does anybody got anything to say about the timing of the sponsorship when that fell, and did it matter to your securing the role?
Interesting one. I don't think the timing mattered much then. So being honest and upfront about it through the process definitely helps because yeah, companies are much prepared on the next steps. The decision has to be taken. So yeah, my offer was with the sponsorship. So
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think same for me. My offer, both my first and well, once you get on the skilled worker visa, you can go back. So my first came with sponsorship, and then my current, it had to come with sponsorship because I couldn't move to in any other visa. Yeah.
Okay. Yufei, do you want to come in on this one?
Yes. So I started my current position on my graduate visa and waited a few months before I could switch on to the skilled worker visa, which was my preference at the time. But there was quite a period of negotiation there happening with my employer, which so Ben happens to be my manager in the career service. So you might have a bit of insight here as well as a manager, as managing someone who needs a skilled worker visa. But I think for me, it wasn't a very straightforward process. There were definitely a bit of negotiations there happening, but we were able to get it done with support from like managers like Ben. So yeah, that happened at the end.
Okay. Well, yes, the university. I won't say that the higher education sector is brilliant when it comes to the sort of managing of hiring issues, but certainly when there was the shift in the requirements of the skilled worker visa, it did. Yeah, it did suddenly precipitate a lot of queries from within the university as to, okay, how will this work for some of those essential members of staff who would otherwise have to leave their jobs, and that did then lead to eventually a point where that could be dealt with before the deadline for the change in the skilled worker visa. That was encouraging, but it took some effort. Somebody's asked a useful question about registering. Registering to say they were here for this session. I am just posting a link in the chat. If those of you who are here as audience members wouldn't mind just clicking on that to say that you are here today, that would be fantastic. Thank you for reminding me, whoever that was in the questions there. So I think that is our next question taken care of as well. Then, next then. What things do you think an international student needs to have about them beyond their studies? That's a big question. Other aspects of the CV, extracurriculars, things which help you stand out. Anybody got any favorite aspects of either yourselves or other examples you've seen, friends, colleagues, classmates who have kind of leaned on a particular thing? I can see, there we go, Tushar, you're looking to come in on this.
Yeah, actually, I just like to point this out that there's no right thing. Exactly. Like there's no one right thing that you can just do and it's just like yeah, right in the right way to get a job. For me, what worked out was I actually for the Stellify Award, I started volunteering at one of the one of the opportunities within Manchester, and I liked it, and then I continued it even till now. So that what worked out is like my commitment to the society, and which I could really use while I was applying for the NHS as well. So that was something that really worked out for me because I liked it. It doesn't have to be volunteering if you don't enjoy volunteering at all. So just to say, there's no one right thing that you can do just to get a job in the UK. It's just pursue as much activities and just get to network and just get experiences within while as much as you can. That's what worked for me.
Thank you. That is really helpful to hear. That I've posted a link to the volunteering hub if anybody wants to take a look at things like that. Anybody else got a hot take on this? The other things that can make you stand out. Yufei, sorry.
I was just thinking, I think understanding the company and the sort of role that you're applying to, doing enough research, understanding actually what they do. Because some employers ultimately they're looking for someone who's a good fit with their team, who can do their job, and who's serious about working with them as well. And I think that bit of research, I don't often see happening when people do apply to job positions. So I think that is probably the one thing among the other points that I would suggest.
Fantastic. You also mentioned before about depending on the nature of the role for which you're applying and the size of the company, if they do provide a named contact, that is a gift. You know, when it comes to better understanding the company and being able to stand out, then if there is time to reach out to that named contact, please absolutely do that. Sorry, Rosemary, over to you.
Yeah, just like to Sha was saying, there's no one thing. I think it depends on whether you're applying for entry level or you have some experience back home. So for experience roles, obviously they would want someone with experience. In my field, because it's audits and accountancy, being chartered is a criteria, but that may not be a criteria for some other field. So I'll just say like go through job descriptions of roles you are interested in and see what they look out for, and then see how you can tailor your documents to suit that.
Fantastic. Tushar, back to you.
I just would like to point one thing out after what Yufei said. I would really so just looking out for what your job really requires, because I had an opportunity to get into a competition called Cyber 912 and then represent University of Manchester in London. The best thing about that competition, I would say that I got to the BT Tower at the 36th floor with a rotating top. That was the highlight of the trip. But another part was that you get to meet some really high professional people, high profile people that I get to meet. So we met the director of the BT network, which I had a chance to had a conversation with, which where he shared his experience about hiring people. So these kind of opportunities really help when you are more outspoken about like getting into different competitions, different opportunities that UoM brings, or in general what Manchester brings. So yeah.
Fantastic. I think I found Cyber 912 and I've posted a link to it down there. Folks, we are at time. My apologies to those who didn't get a question answered. I mean, on a final note, we've kind of got to take that last one there, haven't we? Down the bottom, the UK weather. I mean, does it continue to be a factor in your career life? Have you more or less adapted now, would you say? That's a no from you.
The later part, Ben, probably adjusted now.
Okay. Well, everybody, thank you so much for your insights, for your time, for just, yeah, sharing this little bit of your lives with everybody. It has been incredibly inspiring to just hear what you've been up against and what you've achieved. So, yeah, thanks once again. Thank you to our audience for throwing us some great questions. The recording for this will be available hopefully within a week. And that will then go out to everybody that registered for the event, alongside the list of the various links and resources which everybody has recommended. Once again, please reach out to our panelists and to your career staff on LinkedIn. Should you wish to find any of us there, then you are very welcome to send connection requests. I'm going to put one more link in the chat here, which once again is to anybody that didn't get a chance to register to say you were here for the event. It is always useful to see how many people came along. But thank you all, and very best of luck with your various career endeavors. Maybe see you next week for our next session, and we will close the recording there.